Back over to Brett Lawler, home team. Craig sent us an email through the bobsellslouisville.com website, just so you know. He says, we have an in-ground pool that needs a liner. It doesn't leak, but it's faded in some areas on the bottom. It would last another 2 to 3 years, but it just isn't the beautiful, vibrant blue it once was. And the question is, should we replace the pool liner before putting the house on the market, or just take that into consideration when offers come in? And he's thanking us for our feedback, and also listens to WHS radio in the morning, and that's why he's sending us the question. So I answered this in part to him, but Brett, I wanted to get your opinion, and Chuck, and if you had one as well, in terms of, yeah.
Yeah, we do a lot of pool inspections. I've got one of the guys on my team built pools and maintained them for over 12 years, so we've got a lot of experience there. When we inspect a pool, the very first question out of the buyer's mouth is always, how long is that liner going to last? Now we can't necessarily know when it's going to fail, but that seems to be the primary concern with these pools with that type of a liner in them. So to me, if he's got the opportunity to replace it, make it look more vibrant, class it up, seems like that would be a good investment. Again, it's easy for me to spend someone else's money, but I know that it's going to eliminate, one of the biggest questions that buyers have about the condition of a pool.
Chuck, anything from your standpoint? Would you replace it just as maybe buying it or something?
I don't know. I would ask my realtor, Bob. I'd say, hey, what's going to make it sell better?
Which he did. And what I told him was, quite frankly, I don't know that anyone's going to know the liner's going to last another 2 or 3 years. And quite frankly, why put the money into it? Because I'm a big believer in saving the money. If it comes up during an inspection, a pool inspection, they say, hey, the liner's at 2 or 3 years left towards the end of its life. So then we negotiate some sort of reasonable deal for our seller to make it more attractive, maybe for the buyer, but at the same time saving the seller money. That's going to be the goal for us.
Let me ask a question, Bob.
Yeah.
So let's consider this as a roof. Okay, something that's more easily identified.
That's a big difference. Yeah.
Well, there is a big difference, but my question is that's the other thing that everyone wants to know. How old is the roof, right? How old is the roof? So what would your advice be to somebody who's looking at a roof thinking, I've got, maybe 3-4 years left on it, a little easier to tell. Would your advice be different there?
So here would be, that's a great question to me. So that's a perfect response here would be, go out and get a roofer to give you an estimate on the replacement. In fact, I'd get 3 different roofers, as long as they're not charging you money to give you the estimate, right? And then know that in the back of your mind. And I would say, let the buyer first find the house, then do the inspection. And then, and only then, if the report comes back that the roof is near the end of its life, and by the way, not all inspectors are made the same, and I can tell you from personal experience, an inspector who actually missed the fact that a roof was at the end of its life years and years ago. But my point is that you can then negotiate a deal with the buyer, and maybe you split the costs. Maybe you can do that, or maybe you find out that it's an insurance claim because of some sort of damage from hail. But putting the money into it up front, unless the roof really looks like it's fallen apart, I would much rather hold that back as a negotiating tool, because if you can negotiate the roof, and if you think that you keep that in your mind that you're going to have to replace the roof, if we can get that money lessened to you, you're making more money on the profit of the sale of your home.
And so maybe going back to the pool liner, maybe you do the same thing.
Right.
He goes out and gets an estimate. Yeah, he gets an estimate, knows what it's going to cost, because, as I'm reminded all the time by agents, time is of the essence in a real estate transaction. Everything has to move fast.
Right.
And the problem is that when you are pushed and you don't know what things are, and you're pushed to try to find somebody and you can't, then you're just trying to, taking shots in the dark.
Yep. All right, we are out of time, and if anybody wants more on my theories and why I go there, doing this 19 years, please feel free to call me. I'll give you the number in a second. Our thanks to Chuck Crosby, who owns the Crosby Law Offices. They do foreclosure defense, commissioner sales, wills, powers of attorney, and of course, closing your real estate loan, because you can't pick the closing attorney you want, and Chuck does a great job. You can reach Chuck Crosby over at 499-6360. Also, Brad Lawler, owner of Home Team Inspection Service and Team Bug Out. And as I mentioned, Home Team is also in Frankfort and in Lexington. I know you hear us out there, folks. You can reach Brad and his team to help you get your home inspected, your new home, at 844-411-TEAM. That's 844-411-TEAM. And if you are thinking of buying or selling your home this year, next year, or beyond, and you want to kind of get an idea of what the path is, I can come out, we can talk on the phone, we can do it over Zoom. It's free, there's no obligation, but you will get the information and insight, and you can hopefully come up with an idea of what you want to do. Make your own decision. I'm more than happy to help. You can reach me at 376-5483 or go to bobsellslouisville.com.